legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. All right, everybody, welcome to Small Town Underground. Roy here this evening for a very special Saturday night live stream with Mr. Michael Anthony. We're just going to get started here. Again, Facebook is limiting the amount of places I can share. So if you are here with us and you would like to share this out to the masses, wherever your groups are, please feel free to do so. That always helps us out. And I want to say thanks before I introduce you, Michael. You've been on the show with me before. You are an amazing podcaster. You do a lot of amazing shows. I try to catch them as often as possible. But some really cool guests, some really good topics, and I just appreciate that you are coming back on with me this Saturday night. So how are you, sir?
Well, thank you for having me. And I'm a bigger fan of yours because I know the immense amount of work you're putting into your neighborhood, your district, your city, your state, and hats off to you, brother, for fighting the fight. And that's what we must do. But yeah, I'm trying to do the best I can because there's a lot of rabbit holes. Many of the things fit. People need more of a public awareness. That's what I try to present and represent. I do know that people are getting sick and tired of everything, and a kind way to put it. And that's why tonight I even put out a little shout out pre-stream. God, guts, and glory. Time is now, and this is the time. We need to stand up, step up, and fight for our freedom and a new world future for us, what we believe in. But yeah, that's kind of who I am. For anybody that doesn't know me. And again, I appreciate you having me on. I don't know really what type of content you want tonight. So why don't I do this and do the gentleman like thing and saying, "Lead me, brother.
You got
Lead
it,
me
man.
to the promised land. What do we need to do?"
All right. So what I kind of wanted to focus on, and with me again is my sidekick Bodie right here. He's going to be with me again
Bodie.
tonight. So we're going to get him calmed down in a sec. If you hear any whimpering, he's just wanting to be loved and petted. So really what I'm trying to look at, so I do a lot of stuff around Georgia, and I work with people around several areas. So I kind of wanted to focus with you tonight on, you're from Pennsylvania, Pittsburg, Pennsylvania, and a lot of things that we might not know about down here in the South. I kind of wanted to pick your brain and get a sense of what you are seeing there as far as like election integrity, politics. I kind of want to take it in a direction of, where do you see us after November 5th? Do we make it through this thing, or that's kind of what I want to pick your brain with. You kind of give us your bird's eye view in your area of how things are going.
Okay, well, I do more than a bird's eye, but
Yes.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I am a terrorist enemy to them by voice only, not by personality, not by physicality. Pennsylvania may be the deciding factor to everything, but, and another but. I don't know how many people are aware of this, but we've had, of course, devastating storms.
Yes.
And we won't get into what that's about unless you want to at a further point in the broadcast.
Absolutely.
But we know that we have Florida. We know we have Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
We know we have a major part of North Carolina. And now we have a push for an extension in these three states,
Mm-hmm.
which if that if it occurs,
Right.
and I don't know that it actually will, take place, but it's what they're going for right now.
Right.
And I expect to hear a lot about that within the next upcoming week. That could hold us off 90 days into the future for an announcement of a win. The more time that they have, the more time they have to, use the big cheat.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm trying to separate language here because I don't know how protected you really are and what they're looking for in algorithms on you. But that would put us in a really bad place because as we were brought up, we always woke up the next day. Well, who won?
Yeah,
Who's the winner?
exactly.
I don't think we're going to have that same type of scenario from what I'm understanding tonight.
Right.
It doesn't mean that something may not change, but I do know that they're looking for extensions. And you know what? The truth of the matter is there are areas that just may need that.
I agree.
However, how do we address it? What's the best way to move forward? What's Trump thinking? What's Vance thinking? What's Kennedy thinking? What's the right thinking in Washington? And I think they're all looking for an answer and trying to figure out how there can be a proper balance.
Right.
This is almost too big to be true to be something of a natural phenomena that happened.
Right.
Because we knew they were looking for ways out.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're 100% right about that, and we can definitely talk about that. I mean, obviously, if we get anything positive out of the current weather situation we've been going through, it's the fact that weather manipulation is now in the forefront of everybody's minds, right? Like the conversation is out there. People are talking about it that wouldn't even be talking about it, right? So you can, we have no idea what has happened, or what could possibly be going on behind the scenes, but at least it's being out there in the forefront. To me, that is great news to be had. But then this devastation is unlike anything we've seen in quite a while. But you're right. I've been saying publicly that I didn't even think we were going to have an election in November anyway. And I'm telling you, this may be necessary to hold this election off because of the situation we're in. But at the same time, man, we're just in a mess. It's clown show all over the place.
It certainly is. So if we look at, a little bit of the double C's, the climate control and the scenario, brother, I can only tell you that I've been preaching this potential weaponized problem for at least the past 6 years on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I was on vacation, just to give you a little just as something done at my brother's house. I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and I had a great time with him. And the subject matter, and me and him sitting on the beach. My wife's walking in the water, kicking the waves, enjoying herself. And I said to him, I said, "You ever watch?" We got in a little argument that ensued later at his house. It came up, and it really made me angry. And I got hot under the collar. This is my big brother. This is the guy that protected me. And I felt so bad, I immediately apologized to him. And I said, "Joseph, yes, I do believe our own government. And you mark my words that this type of thing will happen." And it's just not one element of what this thing can do. You're only seeing one element of it right now of what it can do and the catastrophic devastational events that it can, place upon us. So yeah, I've been back in that rabbit hole for probably, 12 years, maybe, listening to some of the best out there that were talking about this. And Pennsylvania is one of the worst placed states for it and these experimental scenarios. But so one of the other things that also comes with this, it's what they call, sun and dim, block the sun, reflect it, but it also has a radiated type of effect on us, like a microwave. So while it's reflecting off the nanoparticles, aluminum, barium, strontium, and all these other, you wouldn't believe, materials that are in there. And I'll just say it's safe like that because some of them are that disgusting when you really think about it. It basically bakes us like a microwave. And that's why the high humidities occur and so forth. And I'm not saying that the sun's not shining a little brighter. I've noticed changes over the past 12 years, not because Gore opened up everyone's mind to it, but the fact of where we are and the element of Earth and how we tilt on our axis and how it moves. There are times and periods of times of years, and we know this from ice core samples, that there are times that prove this is just another natural reoccurring phenomena. But if they can use something on us, as they have, it has other effects. And while they're trying to save the world, they can actually claim the world. So that's what they're doing. Right. You can't blame us for a natural phenomenon. And it's not natural by any means. We watch radars. We watch what it signifies, how directions are occurring, how it's changing courses that storms never before were able to do. So something is definitely working with it. And these poles that we have, these, what everybody thinks 5G, this is part of the system of the weaponry. Right. It works in a couple ways also. I mean, this gets really deep. They can watch you with it because it's ANI, but they can also frequency and shoot energy pulses into the atmosphere, which set it off. Now, don't forget, in '64, Kennedy said that we were going to do this. In the Vietnam War, and eventually we created a monsoon, sunk all our equipment. And Burt Livingston. Goes on and on. Absolutely. And one of my favorite clips, of course, like you brought up Burt Livingston, we've been talking a lot about that. Michio Kaku, back in like 1993, I believe, when was on CBS talking about the weather modification and how far they had come with the technology. All of these things. And they made him swallow his junk by saying alleged. And that was 2011. Yeah. Was it 2011? Okay. I know that there's several of them that are floating out around there, but I mean, look, all I'm saying is we can't definitively sit here and say that we know for any means of a fact that modification of the weather in this particular scenario is taking place. But what we can say is that given the fact that weather modification exists, that HARP exists, that other countries do these things, it's certainly plausible. And we do know that cloud seeding, a year ago, if you talked about cloud seeding, you're pretty much, one of the weirdos. And now when we talk about chemtrails and all these things, now cloud seeding, now they're coming out with all these stories like, yes, the government cloud seeds. We've been doing cloud seeding for decades. And it's just so profound to me because it's like, I'm telling you, a year ago, you would talk about this stuff and you're like, oh, you're one of them. But now they openly admit it. I mean, it's ridiculous. But facts. That's, I think, where we still need to stand on the ground. That's our strength. Just because now they're coming out admitting it's no different than ufology of what we're learning. And I would say probably in the next 90 days, you're going to hear that life exists elsewhere, but it's already known that the probability of that is factual. And this is the disclosure. This is the point of where we are, of what everybody's saying. It's going to be the great reset, a higher level of consciousness that we're going to go into a next new level. No, they're creating a matrix. So it looks like we're going into that. And the phenomena that was going on the last couple nights of them saying we were seeing the aurora borealis,
right?
It was a hologram.
Well, no doubt. Don't. Isn't that how HARP works? They use the ionosphere, and they can project all this through the magnetic fields in the ionosphere, and now they're being able to reach these magnitude, huge depths. Like we're down here in Georgia. It was here the other day. I got pictures of it a couple months ago. It's pretty wild that we're actually seeing this, and I don't believe they're giving us the real answer of why this stuff is this far down and how we can see it. Obviously, there's some other stuff going on, right?
Most definitely, and it's more than just one type of weapon. It really is. It can do many different things, and it's, as they say, our new way forward. It's not what we have to agree with or what we should agree with, but the fact that we now know it should make us stronger on being able to help us go consciously into the next level. Because consciousness and levels, you only rise if you let your mind accept information, and then within your mind that you calibrate everything and you put it into perspectives of where you understand it. That is humanity rising in consciousness, the awareness of information, providing it for you to be able to do so, because we've never experienced anything like this before, or the objective behind it. But we see the devastation. We know we have over 5,500 in bags, still many missing, including equipment, cars, cows, horses. And it goes much deeper than that too. Now we're also finding out that prior to this event that there were permits and some type of government grants for $90 million
by BlackRock
to reactivate this mine for lithium and gold that was once there, and they know it's a treasure trove. So that seems to fit in the narrative of why all this happens. But let me take you back in history on something too. Like at the Biltmore, you have places of prestige in places of where we're talking about. Well, years back, the Vanderbilts actually, wanted to come in and kind of create a narrative of a time. And Vanderbilt owned, of course, some very extensive railroad empires, and he was a major stockholder, meaning he was the main stockholder of the railroad. And they came into Asheville, North Carolina, and within Asheville, Carolina, families of wealth decided that they wanted to kind of like buy the town for some reason. Now, this was pretty much more of a Black culture town. In this town, there's a cemetery with over 2,000 people buried in it, said as workers. In this town where that is, of these 2,000 workers, were so-called 2,000 families bought out so they could take on this endeavor. So imagine what I'm saying to you here on what this kind of is. And so it goes a little further too, when you get into things like the Shilley Castle and the Biltmore. And then they had a place called, I believe, the Biltmore Village that was built. This was all that property that lays on top of what is underneath, with tunnels and so forth. And while we talk about that a little bit, with these tunnels underneath going from the Shelley Castle to the Biltmore with the secret rooms, the secret swimming pool areas, then we learned about a painting in the Epstein mansion, high-rise mansion, that once was on the wall that is now hanging in the Biltmore, which was they came from George Podesto, that represented America's slavery, sexual conducts, and more. And so this is the narrative of how far back they were planning things. Nobody probably ever got paid for their land, especially when you look at and tally the numbers up of, and where was news back then? There really wasn't like much news. Everything was broken apart or bought off. And so you have scenarios like that reside right in the middle of these scenarios as well. So these are people that have always been in charge of an area in different ways. They own the mineral rights. And of course, their objective is to utilize their power, their money, and their efforts now to build for, as they say, a new tomorrow. Then we find out that actually Kamala Harris, all she has to do with the swipe of her pen is sign the paper and everything is go. And her husband's involved with BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard as far as major stockholders into this new endeavor. Kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? But this is kind of like where we are. We're finding out this agenda of narratives also. So you compile that, and then you have a storm come through that has been pre-planned. Certain things are being exposed right now by great Americans, out there looking, searching, digging through troves of files and finding out all this information and bringing it to the public's, the format of the public through citizen journalism. So, it's pretty amazing when you start to see and weigh all the factors into play of everything that we talk about that works out every way they do things. And they don't care that we know they're doing it, or they don't care about the prior histories of what they did, what they practiced, what type of religious beliefs they had, as long as you see it now. And that's why it started out as in 2020 as a biblical content, and it hasn't really left that. But while they're doing it, imagine the fact if they cancel out all the lithium from everywhere else, they become a zero cost productivity, and the government's financing it. How do you like that?
That's a pretty good. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much spot on with all this. I mean, I think that our minds are probably going to be blown the more that we look into this situation, the more that it becomes uncovered, especially like you're talking about BlackRock, the small lithium company that's been pumping in millions of dollars to, I think it's called a Cherry Blossom Town or something like that. Now we're finding out their ties to BlackRock, these minerals that they're wanting, the lithium that they're wanting, and it's almost too coincidental, a perfect storm to wipe out these areas in order to be able to take land. But yeah, you talk about the Biltmore. It's some strange phenomenon going on there that we're going to be dealing with.
And what I think I forgot to mention, I apologize if I did, it was the Walls family who first took this endeavor on about buying the entire town, the whole vicinity. And it was more than a town. But there was the Walls family that then went to the Vanderbilt family. And then the Vanderbilt sold off the railroad empire to J.P. Morgan. And then the Masons move in shortly after. And then after that event, the Selling Castle comes into play, and tunnel systems were put into place, and mining systems were put into place. So it's like living above the business below. And anybody that may have been from old school, where their dad had a mechanic shop next to the house, it was like having his own business right at his home. So it's kind of like that. And, people didn't look. They just saw the immensity and the prestige that was put into building this thing while people were still living in stick buildings. And that's the way history repeating itself stayed. When you look across the landscapes of within America and outside of America, we had these megalithic structures everywhere, built in ways that people couldn't even fathom to engineer in the Wild Wild West as we had. And they were just living by, cutting down trees and sticks. They weren't even good luck cabins. They had airways and gaps and everything else. So it's kind of that format of power of the elites. And most of the people that lived from the 1750s to the 1850s never even knew these structures stood anywhere in the world.
That's crazy, man. That I'm telling you what, I get cold chills thinking about this. I actually lived in North Carolina for a little while, up in the Murphy, Andrews area, and probably partly that was impacted here. So I know a lot about the land. We go up to North Carolina a lot in these areas. I've been to Asheville a couple of times, so it breaks my heart to see this going on and the complete absence of the response of our government. Although I'm not surprised in what our government is lacking here in this situation. There's zero surprise to me at all. We don't even have a government administration that even cares about America, much less is even present in this day and age. We've been without a president for years at this point. It is, to me, when I listen to Kamala Harris, I feel like that I'm burning brain cells when I even devote time to this crazy woman. So it's no surprise that FEMA is completely off their guard. And I'm sure you've seen some of these rotor washouts and some of the nefarious things that have been going on by whatever entities or National Guard or who. But it's a sad state of affairs whenever we're sending billions of dollars. We literally are sending troops and hundreds of millions of dollars over the same time that a hurricane is ravaging our lands. People say it's unbelievable. It's completely believable to me because we know that we are promised these things. We're promised a future where America, the Constitution, our Bill of Rights, everything goes away from us and we become a slave class for the New World Order, for one world government. And this is playing out now to me, whether it's weather or not. This is even if we speculated and said that, okay, there's nothing nefarious here. This is nature. Well, it sure is playing right into their hands of what they've told us, right? A brave new world.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right on the money. I think Joe's on the beach right now, but it's been reported. It doesn't really care. He's making calls. DeSantis says I'm still the sheriff, but Joe's going to give DeSantis anything he needs to rebuild. In due time, of course, the same as the $750, just like some of us eligible people may have got in COVID. So this is that slavery system nuisance check. Here you go. Now get the hell out of my face. And then you have to apply for it in some ways, prove your place of residency, and they're wiped out. Yet they're going to give $750. They had no way out to use it. They have no way in for some people to be able to bring them.
And mind you, borrow if you even get approved.
It's nuts. It's nuts when we calculate the wrong of everything we're seeing. The people in the United States of America, even if we're wrong on some of these objectives and the climate and all that, just that alone is a bitch slap in America's face to have people out there dying and suffering and letting bodies out there lay when they would give somebody in the East who they say took down buildings in 9/11, they had to give him a proper sea burial, which we never had proof of. But the fact is that they're just letting bodies of their own citizens of America just lay and not get the proper help and not get the proper search and rescue teams and cadaver dogs in there. It blows my mind. And yeah, you're right. These black op helicopters coming over, just blowing people's, them little setup tents that they use for food, water. Anybody that comes by that's going to go in, try to help. But at least Elon Musk did. He sent 200 of these drones in to help get into some of these devastated areas that are hard to get to. I mean, you got Dr. Phil down there. You got a lot of big names up, but they're not going to let all that news come out. And I'm seeing some really wonderful, great things. I really am, because even though Dr. Phil stopped at a woman's house, I watched the video of it, and it broke my heart to know this woman, 2 weeks out of heart surgery, and was come outside to say, can you help me? Can you help me? She had nothing going on. These guys took the equipment out of their own vehicle to install it all into her house, so she had something of some type of quality of life back for herself. And with her medical needs, she probably needed it right then, if not before, days before. We're failing. America as citizens are the ones out doing the job.
Yes,
it's not our military. What did they even do? I think, wasn't there just a couple of
they
days
were on stand down. They were
They
on.
took our
There's,
National Guard out of North Carolina and sent them to the east also?
well, they took 750 troops out of Tennessee a day before this hurricane hit and sent them to Iraq.
Isn't that a coincidence?
The rotor wash that happened, that everybody's seen the video of, that's actually been proved to be the North Carolina National Guard that did that. They haven't released the names of those people yet, but they have been grounded. There's an ongoing investigation. The same time this is going on, we had Kamala Harris send $157 million to Lebanon, while the FEMA told the world, or the America, that they didn't have any money for all these devastations. It was gone. What does that tell you? But you bring up an interesting point, because I truly believe that the citizens that have taken up the organizations like Samaritan's Purse and the Bayou people, all of these different people, and the people on the ground, the people that have went over there, I think it scares the crap out of our government, because the communities will stand up for their own, and they will come together, and they'll do it 100 times better than the government could ever even think about doing. And they know, because this is the kind of things that they're trying to breed us out of in this country. They want us in a total state of dependence on the government. And seeing this kind of stuff, I think it just scares them to death,
Yeah, you'll have nothing, you'll be happy. And this is their example of you having nothing. Watching this devastation happen the way this is the way you will be treated in the very near future. Unless you don't, just let's face it. Right now, what do we have? Our vote. Our vote is our power, and that's what we have to utilize, because we have nothing else. We have to put our trust and faith into that being the deliverance of where we make change. But you're absolutely correct. And the money, when it comes to FEMA, they rented hotels for the illegals. They put their own help from FEMA into hotels before people in need, sick and suffering and injured. Medical supplies, that's another issue. The more you look into the criteria of everything that's gone on, it's appalling. And this isn't a government. It's not a government anymore. This is a cult of something different, of a different guidance, of a different future. And I don't know who they're in touch with. I don't know who's running the show, but it's sure not Washington.
You're 100% right. I'm also letting you know, because we can't see each other tonight, because I didn't want to run risk of the show getting split, but somebody did say that there is an occasional echo. So I'm kind of muting myself when we talk. That way we keep it down, because I've checked it like 3 times and I'm not hearing it, but I did hear just a little bit. It's like it's fading in and out for some reason. I just want to let you know, Michael. But
on my side, you're very clear.
Yeah, and I can hear you perfect.
I have my surround turned down at a minimal. Everything seems okay here. I'll just say that. If I can help in any way, let me know.
Sure. I think we're okay, because even if it's going in and out, I don't think that's a problem. But all right. So I want to talk to you a little bit more about, give me, obviously, Georgia, it's a battleground state. We're ground zero for election integrity. We've been doing a ton of stuff to try to make things more transparent, fix things. It's an uphill battle. It doesn't matter if it's it's mainly an uphill battle with Republicans, if you can believe that. But how are you looking in Pennsylvania? Like, what are you seeing on the ground? You got a lot of Trump signs out there. Are people hopeful? Just kind of tell us in your area, give us Georgians a little bit of, how do you see things playing out in Pennsylvania?
Well, earlier I said I think Pennsylvania may have a big decision in the election. Could be a deciding factor. In Pittsburgh, it's appalling. No matter where I go, it's all about Harris. It truly is. But again, we know when you look into the past history of events of what happened here, who came and rescued. And when Trump came, when there was a mass shooting at the synagogue, nobody showed up for him. So there's your answer right there. Not one politician, not representative of Pennsylvania showed up to honor him the way we honor presidents. The same way when they show up and they fly and land at an Air Force base, they honor him. There's an honorary parade. There's a procession. Nothing showed up for him. But when that bridge collapse fell, that mysterious bridge collapse fell, and Biden says, we will be here. I will give you the money. We will rebuild Pittsburgh. This is what they call a gem city. Now, if you Google Pittsburgh on the map, It does no longer show up as Pittsburgh. It shows up as Sanctuary Pittsburgh. So they are buying and selling what they want and how to control what they want. And it's just not Pittsburgh. It's Chicago. It's Philadelphia. There's 15 places, including right where the tornadoes and hurricane went through in Florida. And DeSantis knows it, and I'll challenge him on that. So these are sanctuary areas that were for a new productive 15-minute city scenario into the future 2030 agenda of we take those steps closer over the long game. We become more accepting to them, and they occur. But why do we need 3 million more houses? This is exactly how the house system will work in some of these areas. And then let's not just look at that, at the crazy what comes in threes, the devastational fires in Wyoming. Why? And nobody's doing anything to control it when we have the best firefighters in the world right here within our own beck and call. But yet we have to just let it burn until a controlled burn to control it, to let it burn out at some point, instead of starting to taking down of acres of trees so it can only go so far. Just let it all happen, let it all burn down. These are the power grabs. These are the weapons. Now, what caused these fires? I don't know. There was no reports of direct energy weaponry use like we heard in Maui, but this is that scenario. But back to Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania, what you're calling on, I'm not saying that we don't have positive strengths out there, but people are in fear. Everybody that I've talked to in the last months, workers, construction people, they hate the system. They're all against the Biden and Harris administration. The ones that sat there did nothing now, but are going to come back and make changes on day one. To destroy more of what's left of Trump's legacy that is working because you're not happy that some of it's still lingering there. That's probably the point of it. But what I'm seeing per se, Pittsburgh being a gem city for them, sanctuary Pittsburgh. I'm not saying anything I like. I'm really not. You know, 2020. Here's the biggest gut wrench.
Okay.
In 2020, no matter where I went, in Walmart, Target, just being out, getting into the election vibe. People were wearing the red hats, you know what? You see it nowhere here. Trees, so it can only go so far.
Say that again. You
Which
still
part?
there? Okay, good. Go ahead.
Which part, brother?
Something happened here for a second, but I fixed it. So go ahead.
Okay. I don't know where I was at, to be honest with you.
We were talking about going into Walmart and everywhere you went.
Yeah. All right, I can reflect to that. So there was a time in 2020 and before where people were proud to go out and promote who they wanted to see get elected, and no one argued, no one fought. I mean, some people may have talked, of course, we don't know everything, but now there's a fear where, you don't see the red hats. I mean, everything around in the area of where I am, It's very quiet. It's the silent majority. I don't know what to expect, but I do know everybody is hating it. That much I can tell you.
Sure.
On the back burner to that, on what happened in 2020, was the certain people that got elected into certain positions. Everybody also that I talked about that was in the city as workers, etc., and more, none of them voted for these people.
Right.
But yet they all won to selected, not elected people. So that is another faculty that worries me of how much control they are keeping within Pennsylvania. And Elon Musk was at the Steeler game the other day, and he called up Shapiro.
Oh, that's
right.
right.
A billionaire, what they call the billionaires box at the stadium over there, Acrisure Stadium, the A&I Technology Stadium world.
Right.
And, blah, blah. I regurgitate gag. I don't watch this shit because I know it's all lie, including the games. But nevertheless, he called them and said, look, and I think they were trying to make a deal with him because he did this shortly after being with Trump on Trump's revisit to Butler County, Pennsylvania. They made a call to him with some billionaires in the room. And they all said, we'll dump billions here. We'll make Pittsburgh thrive, but you're going to have to dump what you're doing. Right.
The DEI and all the other stuff, this New World Order type stuff.
And don't forget where that came from, too. New World Order, the book on that came out in 1941 by Hitler. But it also came out before that. There was the Trilateral Commission, the UN, in
That's
Jekyll
correct.
Island.
That's
That's where
correct.
the meetings, the guarded dark meetings, were all held
Correct.
prior to the agenda moving forward.
That is 100%. And now, how far away are you from Butler, Pennsylvania?
I can get there in about 40 minutes.
40 minutes. So let's discuss that for a second. So you are 40 minutes away from the July assassination attempt. So do you know where this place is that where it happened at? Have you ever been around there before?
Exactly.
Wow.
Oh yeah, been on the grounds, peed on the grounds, been on the grounds. Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. So you're local there. I bet you have a little more insight to the locals. I say this about this what happened there. You know, we've still not got an official statement from anything. We've not gotten an official government statement from anything. So anything is on the table, right? There are no conspiracy theories about this. What is your take on the Butler, Pennsylvania attempt?
Okay, well, first off, we have moles, and they are embedded around Trump. Proving who they
Yes.
all are is going to take some effort. Mike Kelly is running an investigation. He's a state senator. He was kind of in charge also of the second revisit, making sure safety, quality, TSA, all that kind of stuff, facial recognition cameras, etc. And I got to tell you, some really fascinating people. I can't say why yet, but after November 5th, I will. But look, when you get out of Pittsburgh, that's when you get into Trump time. So when you get into the north and you start traveling north and you see the farmers and the people that are productive and the landowners, the people with chickens, this is Trump's hometown. That's where it is.
Right.
But on the inner city here is where you see the transitioning of transgender and all the signs of protect children's rights to become what they want to be and all these other things,
Right.
And the signs are out. When I go walk or I go run, most of the time now I'm getting older. I'm over 65 now. So it's like I'm walking more just to be on a safe bet.
Sure.
I see these things publicly displayed in yards. People have no fear of what they want to put in their belief system. And as I said, why part of that reason is it's Trump and Harris. But when you leave the city of Pittsburgh, so there's gaps, there's spaces, but they have their gem cities in place, Philly, and of course Harrisburg, which is a major component, and then you have Pittsburgh, sanctuary, and this is where they are operating from. It's all the scenarios around it which have less populations than some of these mass areas, but that's where the strength is for what I call Trump time.
Gotcha.
So when you get into these backyard places, but in some cases I ride by places in Armstrong County, adjacent to Butler County, where this incident took place. I see a little bit of both too. Also, I am still seeing, signs from both sides of the aisles.
Gotcha.
But it was what it was. It was devastating. Nobody liked what happened. I still will say to the day I die that there were moles involved in this, and there was a lot of things and mistakes made. People saw it. The police saw it prior to it ever taking place.
Oh, we know he's got moles. I mean, the second attempt over on the golf course, I mean, that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there were moles there.
Yes.
Within his campaign. New information has been kind of released about how the Pakistanis have been bringing some assassination teams over here, and that Alejandro Mayorkas, this is alleged, kind of knows about this, and it's starting to make the rounds. I mean, I think the deep state is really panicking here. Obviously, nobody is really buying Kamala Harris, no matter how hard they push her. But do you think that do you think that they have more in store for Trump? Do you think that there's another possibility or a possibility at this point that Trump could possibly be taken out? Because mind you, we're in a position now where Donald Trump was not supposed to be a part of this equation after July. And I feel like the entire thing has been nothing but a scramble trying to figure out how to deal with it, because I believe very wholeheartedly that they were going to take him out, and they already had a plan in place, and they're scrambling right now.
Yeah, and if Trump wouldn't have came back the way he came back, when he came back, we would be even in a worse predicament right now.
Yeah.
Right now, which
agree.
tells you the power that they fear that he has with the people.
Yes.
Yes, I worry about his plane. I worry about him as an individual. I don't worry about the short one as much as I worry about the taller one. But that's a lookalike. And I'm not saying it's a face mask. I'm saying it is a definite lookalike.
Right.
And
A lot of
there's
speculation about
PSYOPs
that.
in everything, including planes, including presidential cars, including every president. And in some cases, masks were used. It's diversionary, it's protectionary, but now they put it into a different division of why they use it and the ethics of why they use it.
Right.
But I will say this, my heart breaks for where we are.
Yes, it does.
And but I do want to say this to every American party person out there that's fighting with us. Thank you. Thank you for fighting the past 4 years. Thank you for holding on. Thank you for your research. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for educating us and doing everything that you can do, because none of us can do it without you. We all got to do it together. And we have to stick with that plan. The 30 Days of Darkness, when I came out with that format program several years back, I said, watch how this will be needed. And it will come within the last 30 days. And just like that, it was very near and close to the 30 days before the election. The devastations start to occur in ways. But remember, take nothing off the plate here.
Right.
A couple of years ago, when you went to Canada, they had 242,000 acres on fire. We had Guatemala floods, hurricanes, earthquakes.
Sure.
I mean, it was a worldwide devastations of events. Now it's our turn here in the West.
Sure. And even while this is going on, you had Wyoming, the Dakotas on fire, all of this wind that went up there. We've got huge fires that nobody's even covering. My Lord. It's true. I guess we just get used to it. But they want you to kind of have that kind of like gift of thought. None of us have it, of course. Right.
And now we've come to the point. Nobody trusts the government.
Oh, no.
Nobody trusts the move these people make and never will.
And I want to say to people out there, I see so many people talking about how you can't challenge you need to get over the 2020 election. You can't talk about weather manipulation and all these things. You look like a crazy kook. Look, is it my fault or is it your fault that nobody trusts the government? Absolutely not. I mean, the government needs to wake up and realize that everybody is seeing through everything that they're doing. It's not the people's fault that we don't trust these institutions. They need to take a hard look at themselves, all the lies and the corruption. And hey, if nobody believes that these kind of things can play into the government's hands, look, we shut down Trump over COVID to begin with. That was a worldwide pandemic that was shut down, and it shut his presidency down. If they're willing to do that, okay, there's as much evidence, as much proof and collaboration has come out about that. Come on, man. Desperate times call for desperate measures. I am almost shocked that we don't wake up with, a nuclear explosion somewhere at this moment in time, geopolitically. But I believe mainly that the reason it hasn't even happened yet is because we're the laughing stock of the world, and all these countries are just sitting back watching us destroy ourselves with this administration.
Yeah, I agree. But remember, they're taking our country without firing a shot.
Yes, 100%. So,
and they truly are. And it saddens me. But you know what? There's not much time left, and where we are from now till then, we need to remain strong and vigilant and productive. We should never stop anything that we're doing.
Yes.
And some of us will pay the consequences on that.
Agreed.
You may lose social media, but oh well, you're saving a country, you're protecting children, you're stopping human trafficking, and look, we got to make choices here. The right choices are the right choices.
Right.
And I think I just mentioned a few of them because I could have kept going, but why? They've done over 18,000 different types of scenario of events in 4 years. 18,000. When you go back and you look at everything they did, from mandates all the way through and job losses, that's how many. Now they're going to support the middle class, but it's not going to be our middle class.
No.
The ones who built America, the families before us, our families who built America and created the productivity here that they have been demolishing, sending it outside resourcing to other countries. This is the part of the demolition of the plan. It came generations before where we are. We're just living in it now.
Right.
But how do we regain? Stay positive and focused and hope that we're making and there's only one choice. So we have to back that choice and hope that that choice is a good one. And I think, if anything, getting back to Trump and his inner side, inner people protecting him, I think even if he was to landslide this election, which I think could very well be what we're going to see, if we can see true transparency of it, he's going to have problems no matter where he goes into the future, no matter what he does into the future.
Yes, I've highlighted that often. I have this scenario, because I think a lot of the MAGA people think that if Trump just gets elected again, that we're going to, everything's going to go back to some sort of normalcy, and then we're going to go back to America first. And I say, if you think that anybody from the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI has got some empty boxes sitting next to their desk just waiting to pack up and say, well, we're going to get out of here, you are dead wrong. Things will escalate probably in ways that we can't even grasp once he gets into office. So the fight is not going to be over. It will just be beginning, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Yeah, all these people are going to stand up and shout out what they want. There's going to be more activities in the streets, the
cities.
But I think he's making preparations for that, Roy. I really do. I think that these things are being prepared. I think there's quiet talks within the police departments, the sheriff's departments, state departments of policing, and the National Guard, that we will be under a very watchful eye, and you're going to see a very heavy presence take place. I'm not saying Derek Johnson was wrong about anything, but I'm not saying he was right about a damn thing. If he was so right, why are we still here? Why is the election 3 weeks away, and why did nothing change?
Exactly.
Same with Q, same with QAnon, same with 17. I told people that this was a compromise to keep you complicit to their plan, to where you thought there was going to be a great savior to come and change everything. Well, nobody saw the outcome. We are the cure of humanity. We are God's seed. We have been put here, and we are the seed of recreation. They can never stop that. There will always be a place for pure blood, no matter how much damage they did.
Amen with that, man. And my sentiment exactly. I remain a hopeful skeptic. I remain somebody I've seen the Q drops, all these things. Look, if all this is correct, I'm already on the right side of things. I've got nothing to worry about. Let's bring it, right? Until then, it is up to us and our communities. And you're right. I know for a fact that there's local municipalities talking about these kinds of things and making plans, and we're going to have to hope for the best, and we're going to have to be our best through this, right? Because they're going to continue to gaslight us to come out and do horrible things, and we're going to have to be smarter than that.
Well, one of the biggest hints that I took from it, of everything to come, was why was Zelensky with Trump? And why did he treat it with kid glove care? Because he did.
Right.
It's because everybody wants a deal.
Everybody wants a deal, and they know who the deal maker is, right?
Exactly. They know who the true deal maker is going to be. Right. They're playing both sides of the cards. But, again, our only side is our vote, while they are trying to figure out the remaining agenda of everything. Trump will stop Ukraine and Russia. There will be peace. There will be agreements. There will be things that happen in Alaska. Everything that's on the table for new treaties, it's going to be a big undertaking. But it's just not the political aspects of bringing countries together to make a system work again. It's going to be the things that are just almost seem innocent that are going to be more important than anything, because of the damage that they inflicted. It's going to be more than taking these corrupt books out of the libraries of the toddlers' educational system. I can't think of the right word. They're like junior high and so forth, like that. The things that we're going to have to look at, they're going to need special teams put in place to utilize direction and energy to clean them up, and to create normalcy again. And it's a huge undertaking. We're going to be battling these people the same way we did when Trump said, if you want me to come to your city and make everything stop, Tell me, because he didn't want to overstep the boundary of the power of the state. He respected it.
Well, he was getting attacked at every level. It didn't matter whether he did right. It didn't matter whether he did wrong. And that's
Right.
that's the deep state. Why? We know this because Trump was one of the only ones who was not part of this system. He was not supposed to ever be a president. He was never. They were never supposed to step out of the skull and bones dynasty of presidential people. They wanted the same families in there for the same new world order that Bush Sr. told us about back in the 90s. Look, and that's why they're freaking out so bad about this. That's why they're trying to stop him, because they cannot control him. I mean, for God's sakes, Kamala Harris doesn't even look like she wants to be president. I mean, you can see it in this woman's eyes that she's nothing more than a puppet to the deep state. And if this is the best they can come up with, I don't even know why we even like let them gaslight us, because they're such idiots. To think, I mean, and it's all by design. Of course, they want to take this nation down. We know that, but I'm almost appalled that they don't even have something better like to sell us than somebody like Kamala Harris, for God's sakes. But I digress.
Again, their narrative is to reward the ones that helped.
Yes.
And the messages that she speaks on, that she gives out, where she sounds like the complete idiot, is actually brilliant, because she's directing her energy to focus to certain people. I don't know if you're familiar with Monarch or any of these other projects.
You talking about Operation Monarch in New York?
Well, I don't know
or
that
Canada.
It's in New York. Montauk would be the closer.
Montauk was in New York. Okay, Monarch.
Yeah. So these things were started with the news and media and some of these other scenarios, like you mentioned, Skull and Bones.
Right.
There was criteria for people to be in certain places, attend certain schools, and for purposes for certain kids to be separated through generation X, Y, and Z, which even Vince McMahon on the New World Order, WWF, said, was trying to warn people to protect their kids from. But these scenarios were how they would collect and gather, how they were going to utilize certain educational systems to influence and guide certain age groups of people, all the way up to the ones who are actually running the country and the politics. Bohemian Grove, Skull and Bones, Harvard, it didn't matter.
Does this have something to do with like the music industry? Because there's a lot of stuff we're deep diving into, like different types of music, like the 90s, the punk rock, and then the rap industry, Tavistock. Okay, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Gangs and chaos, guns and dope. I mean, gangster.
And even they talk about the 90s grunge era and the where the year punk broke as being part of a CIA like kind of covert operation to get this type of music and to create angst in people. I mean, man, the possibilities are limitless at this point.
You're right, and they put people in places of how to live, because the young looks at the idols of what they idol and the sound that they hear that they love and interpret from. And Carmela calls them the role models. And she says, it's hard to be a role model, Yeah, she's about as black as all the black she's had in her, not that she is a culture of black.
Right.
Sure. And we know how that went with Joe and some of the other things, and Montel Williams and some of those scenarios. But we're looking, even Walls, he's as gay as the day is long.
Oh, Tampon Tim.
He's as gay as the day is long.
A joke.
She's a bisexual as the day is long. And I can guarantee you I'm 100% right on it. And they can come at me for it. I really don't care. I said it, blah, blah, blah. Who cares?
Lord knows what the Diddy files have on her.
This is their way of life. They want to bring a new element in of the old biblical world where people did these things normally.
Like Sodom and Gomorrah, really. I mean,
but it was a normal. We think certain things happen. Certain things happen supposedly that we understand, where the people of certain cultures were wiped out for doing these things. But we don't know unequivocally that they are facts or they were manipulations written into the books, because religions had to guide us as well as control us, the same as the 10 Commandments. Do do not do unto others as they do unto you. I mean, there were all these things, but they were even rules and guidances. Then you go into a Catholic mass and it says, drink from the cup. This is the cup of my blood. What are they representing? This is my body. Take it and eat. You know what? Come on. Is it really a religious, or were people manipulated into a supernatural cult, a satanic cult? And when we look at the Vatican, we look at the representation, we look at the litigations and lawsuits,
the symbolism
of all the young men and women, it represents pedophilia.
Well, I mean, obviously, and that was covered up for so many years.
Right. And the hardest part about this is breaking down religious understandings, but every culture had them. The breakaway cultures had them. The people that broke away after the fall of the Babylon Tower, and how they separated people and created a new generation of looks, colors, and cultures. There was all one seed of this planet. It wasn't that anybody was judged. Before, in the earliest parts of times that we understand, it was all of everything as one. They want to go back to that all of everything as one again, and practice the things and scenarios that once lived. That's why we seen, as soon as they pulled down all these precious things that we had in all these states and these statues and put up Baphomet, a transgender representation of sexuality.
Yes.
That was the game changer for me. I knew instantly where we were, why they were doing it, where it came from, what they wanted back. I mean, I was into it. I knew it just like that. It was an instinctive thing in me, and I understood it 100%. I don't agree with it. I think it's, appalling, to say the least, in the kindest way. But again, how do we run away from it?
Yes.
I think we have the God-given abilities. The source gave us the ability. Just like it was given to trees and bugs and parenting. Even a bug knows how to teach its young, or a deer knows how to teach its young how to run from an enemy. Well, so do we. We do the same things. We are the cure. And that's what is going to be the biggest part of the scenario of this fight to be victorious and come across the finish line, is keeping that type of temperament and idea in our mind. In my opinion, doesn't mean it works for everybody, but in my opinion, on how we can win. If again, the biggest worry is if the election comes, and I think it will, the way it looks, but it doesn't mean I'm right.
So, yes.
And that we have transparency, that we go out November 5th, we vote our butts off, we stay there, we stand there, we show the world our presence, that will state to the world, if we use social media and every other element of media that we have, whether it's X, Rumble, Y or Z or Facebook, it doesn't matter, to show that we were the strongest voting population they've ever seen in their lifetime.
Right. And I can guarantee you, obviously, we know that we're going to be up against election integrity all over the U.S., especially with some of the groundbreaking cases that have came out of Georgia concerning Dominion voting systems, a lot of things there. But I think they also know that regardless, will never be able to do what they were able to do in 2020, or much less 2022 for that matter, because we've got way too many gatekeepers now. We got way too many people that are out there on the grounds that are ready for them. They know the algorithms. They know how these things have been manipulated. They're not going to be able to repeat it. I believe that's why they're open and brazen now, especially about these ID laws, no verification voting for illegal immigrants in these cities, because they're desperate at this point. But I do want to ask you, would you agree with me that a long time, it took me a while, because I'm a kind of common sense person where I want it to make it make sense to me, right? And the things that we see on a daily basis, they don't make any sense. And you people struggle with it, because it's like, why is this happening? But after talking with close people, we came to this realization that this is a necessary evil. For example, that all of these things we have to live through this. We have to go through this in order to wake up the masses, to get them to understand how serious of a situation we're in. Would you agree with that?
I do, but I think we come to the realization that we've gone as far as we're going to go.
Yeah,
we might pick up a few tricklers,
right? But
the masses, the ones who wanted to be aware and wanted to understand the research, the truth, the transparency, they've come aboard with us. They've been with us for some time, and maybe in some cases, maybe not some time, but they're there now. but I think we come to the end of where we are and what we have, and this is what we're going to need to move forward with.
Right.
That's going to be the game changer, and I think it's strong enough. I truly believe it's strong enough, and I think every time they react or act, it just gives us more power.
Yeah.
And we have to look at that as an influence. And I think in ways, a lot of even the corrupt ones who were on at one point their side are no longer there. Why is everybody retiring? Why are CEOs running? Why are the record company labels closing down, selling? It's because they know that we are going to be more superior to them, and we are going to change the world when we come back for a better way. I just hope that Trump puts some type of system together where it's a citizen review board.
Absolutely,
and we
like
actually
a grand
can
jury.
participate with him in meetings and discuss things constantly through the next 4 years to prepare for the following of what's to come in 2028.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And you know, a lot of people talk about his cabinet versus the first presidency. I mean, look, we've got Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is ready and willing to take on the pharmaceutical industries, ready to take on COVID. We've got fighters like Elon Musk, for example, without X, without him kind of freeing Twitter and showing us the Twitter files, I don't think we would be as far as we were, because we at least have some avenues to get information out that's not totally suppressed, like Facebook that we're on right now. You know, all of these things combined, I mean, and people like Tulsi Gabbard, people that are there, Vivek Ramaswamy, you know, I mean, at first I was real skeptical about him, but these are smart people, even J.D. Vance, for crying out loud, like, you know, he's sort of proven to me that this man is on the level of like, hey, we've got to fix this. So I'm super excited about the people he has surrounding him now, and looking very forward to who he's going to bring in to deal with this deep state, you know?
Right. And you know, my outlook on Vance at first was like, why?
Yeah.
And I admit that. And I'm not trying to say that to get ponded on. But I mean, truthfully, we've seen a lot of other people around him, Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene and, you know, Matt Gaetz. And I mean, we've seen really good people around him that seemed more like that would be an ideal pick. But, you know, leave it up to Trump to bring something up in a different way, with a different mannerism, with a different idea perspective. And now that I've heard this young man, you know, I would say that he's probably made the best pick he could, because he's brilliant, he's graceful, and he knows, and he has a certain ability of how to trap people and utilize their own words. You know,
he destroyed Tampon Tim. I didn't even watch it, but I saw the highlights. He destroyed that man.
Right. And I think Kamala Harris actually destroyed herself against Trump. I just believe that. That's how my outlook to it.
100%.
I mean, she had no intentions to go in there to have a peaceful debate. It was all about how I can twist. But I will say this about her. No matter what anybody thinks, this woman is intelligent. She truly has the smarts. She hasn't used them in office. But there is a problem in office. We saw the problem when there was the debate with her and Joe for the presidency to come forth. And then he wound up picking her. But who's really been running this country the whole time, doing all the legwork? The one missing in action is the one responsible for doing and dictating all the policies where Joe couldn't fit in to do it due to his health, etc., and to keep Obama hidden in the background. So this is my analyzation of it. So I'm happy that he picked Vance. There is one part of something that I did say, and it may look like I'm totally wrong. And somebody said, well, what do we do to protect the election? And I said, well, wouldn't it be something in the last 2 weeks if suddenly, because of ballot harvesting, because of all the movies we've seen, you know, the postal trucks, the dumping of ballots, you know, dogs on ballots, dead people on ballots. Wouldn't it be something if suddenly, in a moment's notice, Vance stepped aside for personal reasons and suddenly, just maybe, put RFK on the ballot with him? It would destroy every ballot that would be out there that was contaminated.
Right.
But I don't know if we're going to see that. Now, I talked with Brad Olson, somebody who's really brilliant. He's an international speaker, does TV, Gaia, all these other things. He's just a brilliant MF. I mean, he really is. And we had that talk, and we were trying to figure out. And he was trying to explain to me his thoughts. I'm trying to explain to him, my thoughts and concerns. And we thought, wow, something like that would blow this out of the water, because if they tamper with everything, they'd have to rip everything up and start over, and they wouldn't have time to fix anything.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Right. And I get that. I think that
thought it was something that we were talking about that could have possibly been part of the scenario. Because, hey, look,
absolutely.
I don't think all the chess moves are done.
And they may not be. I agree with you. And I would actually, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's certainly plausible. If Kamala was stronger, but if you look at these last 2 or 3 interviews that she's done, I mean, she's humiliated herself. The new Trump ad that came out, I shared it the other day about when they asked her if she would have done anything differently in the last 4 years. And she said not only would she not do anything differently, but she was there with him during all of the policies and procedures. I mean, that should have ruined her right then and there. And people are going to realize this. So I would say that would obviously be a plausible scenario, but they wouldn't even need it at this point,
Says the lady that owns the Glock.
Yeah. Well, I hear you.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't end. I mean, there's so many things we could pick on her for.
Yes.
But you know what? I think with stupidity, no matter how much you try to corrupt and contaminate the square, as Obama used to say, you will reign superior. But I don't think that happened throughout the theatrics of everything they have produced with this. But they are spending millions and millions of dollars like never before on advertisements.
God, I know.
2-minute and repeat after repeat,
Yes.
the same thing. Trump's the devil.
Oh my God.
We're the gods. I mean, that's basically what they're trying to do.
100%.
And I think people are going to get sick of that type of endorsing of themselves, and even say, oh my God, I'm so sick of these people. What is this? Because the normalcy of what we once knew of what politics were, they're just gone.
Oh yeah, and we're on the cliff's edge. We know this. Anything can happen. I certainly expect more. There's definitely more chess pieces on the board. We've not seen the last of anything. Nothing's going to slow down. I mean, this thing's rolling way too quick to ever slow down. So,
right. But what we can do is hope that the punishment syndrome scenario that they're enforcing, that we believe that we're seeing, stops, because enough is enough, and they need to be told enough is enough.
I think they never heeded.
Somebody needs to get the helm of the technology in their hand that we can trust.
Yeah, and they never heeded those warnings. Like, look, if you decide to go here, if you bring these charges and you do this manipulation of the justice system, you better be prepared, because if you're willing to do this, then when it comes back on you tenfold, it's going to be swift. And I believe that they put themselves in a corner because the way they've handled the justice system is just like the Saul Alinsky rules for radicals. You project what you're doing onto the other side of the aisle, if you will. So and you just repeat the lie until it becomes truth. But they've opened up a Pandora's box with all this. They're not going to be able to shut. And we'll have no legs to stand on when these things come back to them, And I'm hoping for the justice. Yeah,
the lead by example has imploded on them because they have never done it, and now they're willing to do it. Yeah. Now suddenly they're willing to make a change, and I'm sorry to regurgitate this. When they had every opportunity, and still with days in the office left, will do nothing to do anything better. And we see that it still is that way. But, again, us talking about these things is always good, because people like to hear different thoughts and ideas and theories. But I think we're at the end of that period of time. All we can do is, I think, preach the vote.
That's
at this
right.
point.
Well, that's all we have left. No. But at this moment in time, and I've said it many times, the only thing we have left, and I have been very involved in our election integrity and all the great organizations in Georgia, But at this moment in time, all we have left is our vote. That's it. And knowing what we know about this system, it should make people jump out of their seats and go to the voting booths, right? It's not an anti-vote, what happened in 2020. This is how serious it is that you get out and you vote, you know? So that's what we have to do. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I watched all the counties. I watched everything that went on. I watched the fight back. I watched people speak and bring evidence forward and fight in courtrooms. And I think all you guys did a hell of a job. But at the end of the day, has it gotten any better? Let me ask you that. Do you really think in the future of this 2024 that you're going to see a better controlled result at the end of the day?
All right. Honest opinion, I do believe that we will. I do not believe that the integrity is going to be much better. But this is what happened in Georgia, okay? We have a governor in the state of Georgia that is not a Republican governor. To me, if my opinion, he works straight for the WEF. He is a global corporatist governor. And a lot of people in our state, they go to the highest bidder. They want the seat at the table. And what these groups were able to do down here in Georgia, these analytical data harvesters, the people that were pushing in their counties to get the receipts and the tabulators, what we have done is surpass their even like comprehension of a bunch of dumb redneck hicks that just would not give up, okay? And we took this fight so far, even in the justice system, to where we were burning their leg hairs. We got them too close to the fire, and now they've retaliated, right? They've come out with their veiled threats, and they've charged the Democrats to come after their own people because they're never going to tell on themselves, right? But I don't think they ever counted on anybody in this state to not only stick with this and to push it forward, but to even figure out what we have figured out. And that alone to me tells me that they better be very cautious going forward, because if they cannot do what they did in 2024, there will be no leaks at the State of Farm Arena. There's going to be no more cardboard going up on the windows. The poll workers and watchers are not going to leave, and every one of these people are going to be watching this like a hawk. And we have the encryption code. They could get into the Dominion voting systems if they wanted to. I mean, This is how far we've come. So I will say, in my opinion, yes, I think that this has helped immensely, but naturally we're still in a broken system. So who knows what they're planning on the other side? And that's going to be the mystery of the hour. What are they going to throw at us in November? So
I don't know. We can hope that the military is keeping a watchful eye, using some of the sophistications through Starlink and whatnot, because I do believe in a way they actually were eyeing it all out when it happened in 2020, but they had to let the big reveal come out in order to take these and this structure out completely. And I think that is how some of the focus went. But I could be totally wrong on that, but I think in ways it really went that way. But you're right.
I think you're right.
We have to worry about every element of everything. But maybe there will be watchful eyes in other ways taking place, because I think we're going to have some type of radical implosion, no matter how we look at it, no matter how the outcome comes out. There's going to be controversial bullshit that's going to come out. When Hillary lost, she said that, the systems was against her. She claimed the same thing. Everybody
Abrams
utilizes that same scenario. So I'm anticipating if Trump wins even by a landslide, there's not going to be any graciousness.
No matter who wins, neither side's going to be happy. I mean, one side, nobody's going to accept this election in November.
And when you think about the reparations the people of America want from these evil people, they're not just going to want to hand over our country peacefully back.
Exactly.
The control of the country and a peaceful transfer is where the conflict will actually take place, in my mind.
Yes.
I don't know how it'll work. Maybe the military will then actually do their job, and then they will refer back into their books and start handling things a different way, and they will take take the position of power into the White House, and the guard of the Secret Service will be removed, and we will see complete military. It's going to look like a communist country, but I really think that's how we're going to be looking at it in order to keep him safe, to where we can then dig into the everything.
Yes, he's going to have to be well protected. Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to say one thing you mentioned about, well, I'll put it to you this way. If Donald Trump, had won in 2020, I don't think you and I would be speaking right now, That's how serious I believe that the unveiling, as you called it. If Donald Trump had won in 2020, I might not even be doing a podcast. That's how serious these things are, because it's what's having to happen in order to break this system down enough to fix it the way it's supposed to be, bring the power back to the people.
Right.
So,
and I think in some ways we actually experienced a lot of those things, and they had to be shown to the world.
Yeah.
And maybe not in the immensity of what people thought, but what really worked behind the scenes of anything that was laid out. What really worked were guys like you, Roy, guys like me, the smaller journalist people who don't know their ass from a hole in the ground on what the hell we're doing, but we did enough research and homework to be able to talk about the issues of the subject matters.
Yes.
And in many ways, we're stronger than the bigger people with the bigger voices who are still concerned more about keeping money in their pockets.
Yes,
and that's really where they are. The ones who could really help us fear the most on being canceled or somehow moved on and losing their revenues versus actually speaking with transparency, constancy. Sure. And I'm not saying it's everyone, but there are some people out there that play that narrative of the game.
Well, I think a perfect example is Tucker Carlson. Well, once his chains were broken from Fox News, look at the impact that he's making across the country, the world. He is completely unchained now, having conversation with people that in interviews that I couldn't have dreamt that, the information coming out there. So absolutely.
And it's groundbreaking all over disclosure.
Yes, it is.
It's not just political.
No.
It's supernatural. It's ufology.
Yes.
It's everything telling us the start of telling the truth.
Yep.
Not of us learning about a space program.
That's right.
Not of us learning about project this, that, or the other, but the facts that we're doing it because we know, or somebody knows that we need to be doing these things. And we just need that transparency to come on too. And you know what? People are not going to run, hide, and stick their head under a pillow. They're going to accept it, and they're going to learn how to deal with it because we are Americans. We come from that cut of the cloth.
That's right.
And we can handle this. And we got to control the outcome. We got to control the issue. That is the failure of the government, not trusting the American people to be strong enough when they are, in fact, stronger than the government.
Yep. Hey, I put it this way: if anybody out there wants to call me a conspiracy theorist, if that's the best that you can do, then I'm going to wear that hat all day long. All right, because we strive at nothing more than the truth, no matter where it leads us, man. And I'm definitely not controlled by anybody, and don't ever intend on being controlled by anybody. So.
Exactly. So, I'll throw one last kind of thing in here for you.
Sure.
Like a few people, they come on. They slip little messages into the shows, things like that. Write me on Messenger, and they say, "I can't believe you like this guy. Aren't you really paying attention? This guy's an asshole." And I write back to them and just merely say, "Well, he's my asshole, and I love him."
There you go. I like it. I've been through. He did been through the warnings of, "Hey, are you really going to put this person on the show?" And I'm like, "Look. You fight your fight. I'm going to fight my fight. I'm going to put who I want here. We're going to talk about what we want, and that's the way it's going to be. You don't like it, change the channel." That's all I'm going to say. All right, man. So what we're going to do, we're going to go through comments. We got some good comments in here, and then we're going to do our final word. So,
all right, rip away.
Randall Rhodes said, "You're echoing," and thank you for letting me know that, because it wasn't a total echo, but I did realize it was on my part, and I fixed it a good ways back, so there is no more echo in here, and I actually realized exactly what was wrong, and now I know how to correct it as we continue to get better at this. Lisa Adams, thank you. She's clapping. She says, the swimming pool, and I don't remember what that one was about.
The swimming pool below the Biltmore.
Oh, below the billboard.
That's
Yes,
the meaning.
yes. Okay, yes, got you. And she also says, we're all up in the truth tonight. Amen. We could go so much deeper than this, too. Sharon Holland, as always, thank you for watching with us. I hope you're doing well tonight. Beth McCord says, Trump 2024. Right there with you. We have to get Trump in there. We have no choice at this point.
Hey, let me do this for Beth.
Sure.
Thank you for your hard work. I know who Beth is, but
Okay.
thank you for your hard work. She really stuck through this ever since day one. This is beyond 2020.
Right.
I guarantee you. She's been in there on the fight. She's been on shows with me. She truly is a warrior.
That's wonderful.
That is tried, and she needs to be acknowledged for that.
Well, we certainly thank you, Beth, as well. We thank everybody from Pennsylvania, all over America, down here in Georgia. And we've got so many good people. And again, like I said, you look at the response from the citizens. You look at the response from North Carolina, East Tennessee, even down in Florida. I got friends coming on tomorrow night. We're going to be discussing. They went through Hurricane Milton. You look at the people. The good people will come. People will band together. People will take care of their own. It's instinctive, and it will happen. Never mind the government, and that I think they fear that. But
you couldn't be any more right. I mean, there's just, you know what, the red line just went up the chart. If
right.
This was, I'm telling you, yeah, exactly that, and that is the fear factor.
Yes. All right. Lisa Adams again says, I still don't know how they get their heads so far up their asses.
They manage.
Yeah, they certainly do. It's hard to watch.
Maybe it's because they practice on each other.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, Lord, and that's coming out, you know. Tina McGregor, good to have you with us this evening. And she is another a wonderful patriot fighter. Her and her husband says, hey, y'all. We say hey back to you. Lisa Adams says, you can't even post about the fires. Facebook takes it down. Yeah, she's probably talking about the recent fires that's going on. I mean, so many things you have to safeguard yourself about that will get immediately stricken down. It's beyond me, you know, and all that Mark Zuckerberg stuff coming out about, you know, where is it at, Mark? Why haven't you got your cronies off of us yet and open this platform back up to make it freer? I'll never understand. Josh Mullins replying to Lisa said, hello, dear. And she says, what's up? And Lisa says, everybody brings something to the table. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. Don't ever think you've got nothing to offer out there, because you're looking at a couple of dudes who just decided to do this. I mean, and we're doing it. So don't ever, ever, ever think that you cannot be part of the solution out there. You know, we're not all the same, but we all have something to offer. So
exactly. And that's what moves us all forward together. We're uniting.
That's right. Beth McCord, again, she says, they don't think we have the brains to research. I'm telling you, down here in Georgia is one of these dumb redneck hicks. I'm telling you, they don't. They underestimated the people, and boy, did they ever. Lisa says, and when we do, they take it all down when we try to share. Of course. I mean, we're constantly dealing with censorship all over the place. And Beth says,
and don't forget, they had this technology in 2016.
That's right.
To keep information suppressed also.
Sure.
So this is a narrative, and the technology has improved 100-fold since that point in time.
Yep.
That's why we see what we see also. Sorry about that. I just thought I'd throw that part in.
No, you're right. I mean, what is all of this other than just algorithms to gain our information for our digital beings, right? That's what this whole thing was about. They wanted all the information they could possibly get on you in a way to get it very freely and openly. And you know, it just is. Beth McCord says, yes, they do. So we get out and talk to people. Amen. We talk all the time. So the Driftless Iowan says, conspiracy theorists, read Howard Zinn, then get back to me. Harris is going to landslide Trump. Okay. So looks like that they're calling us conspiracy theorists, and that we should read a book that says Harris is going to landslide Trump. So, well, you know, I can't sit there and make that claim, and obviously we have no idea where this is going to go. Really, I don't think anybody really does. So, you know, if that's your candidate, then you know this is America. You have every right.
More power to you,
more
man.
power to you. And I will gladly be called a conspiracy theorist. It doesn't bother me a bit. Lisa says it will only intensify. Oh, that's 100%. And they see my dog Bodie. Yep, he's my co-pilot tonight. And Sharon Holland says, "I can't believe people don't vote. This is inexcusable. Where is their outrage for this administration?" And I could stop on that for just a second because I mean I've got people very close to me that will not participate in voting. I can't, no matter what you say to them. But people just don't want to be plugged into this stuff. I know. I know. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, they don't want anything to do with it. And I can't understand why. It's something very simple. It's just a very simple tool in your toolbox to just be a part of this and do that civic duty. But for the life of me, I can't figure it out. So let's
I'm with you.
Jeff Conley says, "Rules for thee, but not for me." And Jeff Conley is another great patriot down here. 100% right. And we're seeing this played out. Excuse me. We're seeing this played out all over the place. Just a complete and utter disregard for the rules. I mean, like we've never seen before. Lisa says, "If they aren't awake by now, they aren't going to wake until the shock comes." And yeah, that's 100%. And then John Mullins, good to have you, said illegals voting. And that's definitely going to be an issue, and especially states like California, New York, Illinois, you name it. So,
well, that was the Build the Vote platform. Leave the border wide open, and
yes,
they'll agree to anything, including becoming a Democrat and letting somebody else fill out the ballot because me no comprende, me no speak no English.
Yeah.
But I know how to cook dog and cat.
And I'll tell you something about the Democrat Party, right? Because, Stacey Abrams was fighting election integrity all over the place against the governor back in 2020. It abruptly kind of stopped in 2022, of course, when he won by over 2 million votes against her. All of a sudden, they stopped screaming election integrity. But then all of a sudden, before 2020, there was documentaries that HBO were doing about these voting systems and how easy it was to break in because Hillary Clinton had lost to Donald Trump. And magically, after 2020, the Democrats just seemed to stop caring about election integrity. They just decided that it wasn't an issue and that they were happy with it and that the Republicans in their state had done everything correctly and had double and triple checked. And so now you've got the Democrats in the state of Georgia coming out against the corrections that are being brought forth to the state to make things more transparent. So, if you want to talk about sides here, how on earth would the Democrats not want to join together and continue their work of election integrity? Just shows you what kind of manipulation that they had on the system. They could have cared less, But we have actual evidence, actual proof out there, and now they're fighting against it. And it beats anything I've ever seen. I mean, talk about just...
Well, the power of the Soros money really did interfere immensely. And that has been an objective of his life in many countries as well. Go along with us or we will become the Antichrist in your country. Mm-hmm. And America will come in and invade you to create what we want as what we see as peace.
Right.
It happens everywhere. But when you have something so influential, people are weak to the money and they climb aboard. But I guarantee you, many of these people never knew how deep this implosion would go by what you guys did down there in Georgia. What was the other one? Maricopa
County. Yeah, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean,
big,
look,
huge.
We heard the voice around the world. That was like the shot around the world, if you want to know the truth.
Yes.
And look at Mike the Pillow Man. And
yes.
Look at Rudy Giuliani. Mm-hmm. And, but the thing is this. You can see who faces the consequences over the ones that do wrong versus the ones that try to do right. Steve Bannon of the War Room and Alex Jones.
Oh, yes.
Taking
Absolutely.
him broke. I mean, they will do whatever it takes because they still have a scenario of power in place.
Yes.
And even though people are running off, retiring, making up their own reasons for leaving the country and moving out of the United States. And the thing is this. These are the aspects of the worry that I think a lot of the American people have. And I think they have the right to worry about this because we saw their strength. But is their strength stronger than our vote?
Right.
And that's really what it's going to come down to. Because as Trump said, If we overwhelm the system,
That's
we'll
right.
break
Overwhelm
the
the
system.
algorithms.
Yes, we'll break the algorithm. We'll break it. And that did happen that night, but there were secret repair people on, like, and that's why when he went to bed,
Well,
look,
I
the
mean, it
story
even
keeps
happened in
going.
2016. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they already had this in place. They just had 4 years to hone the craft, and then they shut down the entire world the last couple
Well,
of years.
you're absolutely right. And there were hearings in Washington where every one of these beach nuts were out there, including Harris,
Mm-hmm.
Shifty Shift, Pelosi, and they were all saying what a failure the Dominion system and all was.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, they looked into the objective of how they could manipulate the system. That
Mm-hmm.
was all about getting into the system, figuring out how to manipulate the system, and then setting the algorithms to work with the system.
That's correct.
And that's how they flipped the system. And Trump
100%.
says he knows it works because he used it.
There you
Imagine
go.
that statement, but he did say it.
Uh-huh.
But he also said things like prosecution's not a bad thing if it's meant for the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's how one looks at the power in the words.
That's
I
right.
look at them through common sense. And if you remember when Vance was with Walz and they were doing the debate, it was all about what? Common sense,
Mm-hmm.
common value, common sense, the two C's. And that really was the whole format of the objections of everything. But, again, Vance did a remarkable job.
He
All right, where do
did.
we go from here, brother? You all done with the column of the
I am. So what I want to do is
the Warriors of Roy.
yes, I want to
Sounds like a
first.
Greek. You sound like a Greek god. The Warriors of Roy.
Lord, I got some good people down here. So I want everybody to tell everybody where they can reach you, how they can reach you, and I want to give you the last word. So
Oh man, at this point, I don't know if it even matters.
It
I don't know what
does.
I'm going to be doing in the future, but I do a lot of things. I really do. I talk to a lot of great people with a lot of great information. And I, like everybody else, I'm hoping for this to all go away somehow, and we are victorious, and we can, with confidence, move back into the White House, because I feel we're at the door knocking, saying, "All right, start packing. You're leaving," and that's where I want to head with that. But if you really want to follow me or check out some of the work that I've done, I have something like 750 videos out there, thousands of hours. No, I shouldn't say thousands, but it's up there.
it's up there.
But again, the formats are talking about pretty much everything because the rabbit holes are everywhere.
That's right.
So it may seem like, oh, that's not my topic. You might be surprised if you knew what I knew and what I found out, because it goes much deeper and dirtier than you could ever imagine of what they're trying to protect and why they're trying to protect what they protect.
Yes.
But just check me out on Facebook, Michael Anthony. That would be your easiest thing. Go to Roy's friends list.
Mhm.
Find me on there, because if you look me up by typing, 9 times out of 10, I'm never going to come up. That's the
Right.
way they have the algorithm
Yes.
set. So if you go on Roy's friends list and you're friends with Roy and you follow his show, you'll see me there. Click on it, friend me. And if I get it in the next 24 hours, an immense number of people interested, I'll add you in, because I just don't add people very much anymore.
Mm-hmm. I got you. And I want you to give the people a final word. Whether it's what we're going to look at in the near future, or just what do you want to say about all this?
Well, you'll either want to have nothing and be happy, or you're going to want to have the American dream.
That's right. It's 100%.
That's it. That's plain and simple.
Yep. I'm actually surprised that we're still on, that Facebook hasn't already taken us off yet. I really am surprised, because I've been taken off before.
I'm pretty well protected.
All right. Well, listen, man, it's always good to speak to you. You guys need to check out Michael Anthony. He covers all kinds of cool stuff, man. And I'm a big fan, and it's always good to have you. And thank you for kind of just talking to us up there from Pennsylvania, man. We appreciate everything you do, and you'll. It's never a dull moment with Michael Anthony. I can promise you that.
And I hope in the future that you and I can just, break bread together in some way on here and just talk about things of greater interest.
Absolutely.
We come into that place, and maybe someday we will.
I
But
hope
for
so.
now, hey, stay in the fight to the last minute, brother. It
I
ain't
will.
over to the sings. That's
You
all I
ain't kidding.
can say. And I'm going to be right there with you at the finish line.
All right, just stay on the line, Mike. I'm going to run the intro out, and I'll get back with you. Guys, it's been a blast.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, we're going to have a couple friends of the show that just went through Hurricane Milton, and we're going to be talking and looking at some videos that they took and kind of talking about the weather. So this will be our live stream extravaganza weekend coming up tomorrow night at 8. Also, we've got some really killer shows coming up. Me and Michael Pons are working on some material to get into some rabbit holes that we're going to really specifically look into, and plenty more to come. So, Michael, again, thank you. Everybody, y'all have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.